We're still walking with the Hatman, Teddy and Harvey. The sun's coming up. We've been out the last 20 minutes or so. It's got bright really quickly. A nice lightening of the day, and I don't know if you can see, but we got a red sky. So my childhood, I remember red sky at night, shepherd's delight, red sky in the morning, shepherd's warning. I don't actually know the relevance of that. What does it actually mean? So I'll probably, I will look that out later. Now, a friend of mine last year, might have even been the year before, I asked her, did she have an idea for a podcast, some of my ramblings? And she said, well, what happens when you stop learning? What happens when you stop learning? So crossing the road, I learned as a kid the green cross code, man. Look left, look right, look left again and go carefully. But there will come a point for most of us when maybe learning just stops. For most of us, when we left school, the ties might have been cut or burnt or put in the bin. We probably thought learning stops then, but it probably just begins. You learn more about money and rent and people and bosses and working to a restricted time scale and a longer time scale. But what happens? So for me, it's like your rate of learning needs to be at least the same as or greater than the rate of change. The rate of learning has got to be the same, at the very least, as the rate of change. Now, the consequences for an evolutionist is if you don't keep up with change, you'll get left behind. Now, that might cause problems in the animal kingdom, might not for all. But as human beings, if we don't keep up with learning, who knows? So we've got to keep up with change, but it stops, doesn't it? I mean, I don't go to college anymore, I don't go to university, I don't go to school. When I started working, I learnt loads of stuff. But interesting, you're not really told what to do, you just left to kind of work it out. So you learn then. And when I was getting really good at my stuff, my craft, I would learn stuff. I would watch people from the past on videotape. I'd read books. I got into neuro-linguistic programming, blah, blah, blah. But in the last few years, what have I learned? Well, I've learned a lot about dogs, how they behave, things that they like, don't like. Learned about how people react with dogs. I've learned about the honesty. But what else have I learned? I don't know. A couple of things that stand out for when my learning offered by my parents stopped. One of them was, I think it was some family event. Mum and dad, siblings and family, blah, blah, blah. I went in to see my mum and dad. My dad just started adjusting my tie. I don't even mid-20s then. My mum said to my dad, leave him there, Mike. He's a man. He knows what he's doing. And he kind of took his hands off my, well he did, he took his hands off my tie. And looked at me, and there was that moment, he was like, oh, what can I offer this guy? Now I'd say he didn't offer me very much at all anyway, but for him it was like, oh, what can I do? And, I've got 3 other siblings, so I'll probably focus on the next sibling all the way down. And for my mum, there was one time walking back from school, and there's a bit of a situation with some hoodlums. And she was driving to pick me up, saw what was going on, mounted the curb, and went to run these kids over. And I looked at her and said, Mum, what are you doing? She said, nobody's hitting my kid. I said, they weren't going to hear me run. She said, what? I said, I was going to hear them. And then she told me off, gave me a right hard time. My children, when they hit 18, I told them I wasn't going to tell them anything anymore. I support them in every decision they had. But if they asked for an opinion, some advice, some guidance, I'd be there. But they're now well into their 20s. A bit like my dad. I've let go of the tie now. I don't know what's going to happen with the rate of my learning over the forthcoming years, but I will be hungry for it. The birds are waking up now, and I really need a cup of tea. Okay, if you learn anything today, embrace it. If not, fill your mind with stuff. Who knows what will reside in your brain that'll be useful for later on. Hatman out.